and stream sings a lullaby. There grows a lily fair.
Now, one thing I've learned, it's always difficult to ask the first question. So I'll start with the second. Okay. You got it. You got a pen? I'm not doing that, you know. Yes, ma'am.
I hear you live in Salt Spring. Is that the first place you came to when you came to Canada?
Oh, hell no.
Where did you come first?
Got 10 minutes. You remember some of the Beach Boys I get around? Alliston, Ontario, Welland, Ontario, Calgary, Alberta, Cambridge, England, Winnipeg, Fairview Slopes, Bowen Island, County Down, County Roscommon, Salt Spring. Yep, I've got frequent flyer points.
Did you get back to Ireland?
I went there for 2.5 years recently, yes.
You still have family over there?
No. I have 2 cousins in England, and that's the extent of my European family. Yes, sir.
Are these all your books you're reading from, or some other person?
Well, they're all mine, yeah.
They're yours?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I charge a commission for reading from other people, so I do my own for free. I saw somebody had Isaac Asimov with them.
Oh,
Yes? A gentleman somewhere with Isaac.
She has the arts.
She had Isaac Asimov. Do you know what they said? You all know Isaac Asimov. Brilliant science fiction writer. Do you know what he said when they asked him what would happen if they told him he only had 6 months to live?
No, I don't.
He said, I'd type faster. What can you say?
What started you writing?
What started me writing?
Yeah.
God, I really don't know. I think probably the kind of schooling I had. I mean, from a very tender age, and I can't tell you the exact age, every Saturday we had to write an essay. It's called the composition. Now today you'll see kids who have all kinds of neat things like drama classes to go to, and some of them are better than others at it, and the teacher encourages them and they decide they want to be great actors. They end up selling hamburgers at McDonald's, and that's okay. I was quite good at composition apparently when I was a youngster, and the teachers encouraged me. And I think you respond to being told you're good at something when you're little. Yeah. And then I couldn't quite give it up. And when I finished my training, I mean, everything gets interrupted by your training. It happens. And I chose an academic career in medicine. I had to write research papers and textbooks and all that kind of stuff. Again, I think most of my papers got published because they were good English, not because the science was worth it. You know, very few scientists have published the laundry list, but I have. That was a spoof of the letter, the editor of the journal, but I published my laundry list. And then this need to write something other than science started. I was still living in Belfast in 1969, the Troubles had just broken out. And I wrote what for me was a very cathartic piece about a young Catholic boy who, like many of the unemployed in the north of Ireland, joined the British Army. It was a job, paid money. And he was posted back to Belfast and then faced with an enormous moral dilemma about whether he should side with the army to which he had taken an oath or his own parents. And that story was called Jerry. It languished for, God, years. Until I got bored writing science and started writing a few more short stories, and ultimately that story got published in 1994, 95 in a collection of short stories. So it's a very long-winded answer, I'm sorry. It's not a simple question.
It's a good answer.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You should have a tape recorder typed that showing this message. Yes, ma'am.
When something like you were just speaking about this novel that you wrote, Jerry,
Yes.
and that has languished for quite some time,
Yes.
and it eventually gets published. Is it published because of what you have done before, and now you're becoming a recognized name, or because the times have changed and now
My name's been recognized for years, mostly with a front view and side picture and numbers. No, it was my, what actually happened was, I unearthed that story at a lull in my academic career. I was a bit hitting bored, I was bored. And I thought, I have another story to complement that in here. So I wrote it. I wrote half a dozen more. Some of you may know the works of Jack White. Yeah, Jack writes about King Arthur and Uther. And Jack and I have been friends since Calgary days. And I showed him. He says, Pat, you should get on and do a few more of these concurrently. I was editor-in-chief of a medical journal. And my publisher was a man called Adrian Stein. And certainly until last year, he and his wife also edited books in Canada, which is the Canadian Times Literary Supplement. Adrian saw my stories and he showed them to a woman called Anna Porter, who at that time was the owner of Key Porter Books. And she said, if you can produce 16 of these, I'll publish them. And that's how I got my toe on it. Okay. Now, I think it's time you kind of got your money's worth, and I should read a little more. So I'm learning from Christmas. And I want you to understand here, I do occasionally get letters, and they get very cross with me because some of my characters tend to be a little blasphemous. I try to represent my characters absolutely as they were. Students of scatology will know that in Catholic countries, swearing tends to be blasphemous, whereas in Protestant countries, swearing tends to deal with excretory and sexual functions. I didn't make these rules, I simply reflect them. And if I were writing, and I'd be reading, I hope of time, a little bit later on this, a character in Dublin. You know the way Canadian teenagers say, I walked down the street like and I saw your man like, and he said to me like, I'm going to die. It's feckin' in Dublin. I was going down the feckin' road and I seen this feckin' guard. I maybe took that feckin' rate. They even hyphenate words. So some of my characters will be a little rude, or a little blunt.
And like a lovesick lad am I, she has my heart.